earlier today, about three and a bit hours ago, EU5 was finally announced. It's been in development for a little bit of time. I have seen a few things on Twitter, a few like spoilers images. I do know people have been playing it. There's actually a couple guys down here. Yeah, there you go. Played 200 hours of EU5. I'm in the way actually. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You see that better now? Yeah, 200 hours of EU5. Which is it's a lot. Actually, it's a lot. That isn't it? That's a lot. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to watch this live, so I figured I'd do that now, have a little react to it, and then, yeah, then we're going to play Age of Empires 2, because I was in the middle of that. I completely forgot this was actually happening today. I didn't know it was going to happen, but, yeah, I did a dumb. I did, again. So yeah, 3, 2, 1, let's go. And hopefully it's going to be loud enough. Or not too loud.
Hello everyone, I'm
Hello.
Johan Anderson.
I'm doing it again. I'm talking to a video. Let me turn off captions. There you go.
Leader of Paradox Tinto and the creative lead for Project Caesar. We've been teasing you guys about this project for over a year now.
Yes, you have.
Now
I have seen
it's
the.
finally time to reveal what this is all about.
I've seen what you've done with the HRE. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of factions in there now. It's oh boy, it's a lot of colors. Apparently, it's like 4 times bigger as well.
With each stroke of the brush, the landscape unfolds.
Uh-huh.
And with every gesture, a path is carved through history.
Uh-huh.
Ambition, once ignited,
A little louder.
pushes forward and can never be tamed.
There we go. That should be fine.
With every line, a new horizon. Drawn from the wells of ancient civilizations, the landscape changes, but the drive remains. Painting
Sounds
with
fun.
the sharp reds of revolution and the black ash of scorched battlefields.
Oh, that's a big cat, and that's probably the Ottomans.
Legacy is forged of the chosen, tracing the silhouettes of warriors.
Hey, it's Japan.
With a final stroke, like fire across the landscape. Never before has the canvas stretched so far. Europa Universalis 5.
What? EU5 was your Project Caesar the whole time?
Be ambitious.
The whole time? I never would have guessed. I never would have guessed. Yeah, go wishlist it on Steam. It's it's not available now, but you can wishlist it. So it'll tell you when it's available. Nice. That's ooh, Carolus. Is that 3rd or 13?
Yo, it's finally happening. How does it feel?
I don't
Probably
have words
13.
to describe how excited I am about this. This is gonna be so good.
Considering there's a
I'm
Carol
an E4 player with
stretches the Carol.
5,000 hours. How different of an experience is this going to be?
Wait,
for
hold
me?
on. Did he say?
It's not like playing an.
Did he say he's played for 5,000 hours?
I don't have words to describe how excited I am about this. This is gonna be so good.
So I'm an EU4 player with 5,000
Oh, okay. EU4 play with 5,000. Only 5,000, really? I'm not that far off.
hours. How different of an experience is this going to be for me?
It's not like playing a new expansion. There's we've tried to change mechanics at every single place. Everything's going to be new. I would say throw away the 5,000 hours, but it's still going to be some things.
Yeah, well, back to zero.
So you and the team have
The
been
game's
working
very
on this
different.
for a very long time. How happy have you been with progress?
Does this bar go to 11?
It can if you want.
Yeah, well,
So very happy.
yeah, I'm super happy. It's like my team is among the best people I've ever worked with. They're been recruiting people a lot from the community and with people with a lot of experience, and to be so great. And the amount of history and the amount of mechanics and everything we got into the game is beyond what I dreamed of when we started.
Do you have like a single word in mind to describe the idea behind what you're trying to achieve?
Ambitious, is that a good word to
Ambitious
use?
is a very good use.
Yeah, I would just describe the game as we set out very ambitious, and it's a game we can do pretty much everything. in the game.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how I want to
Sounds
play it, there's
interesting.
something
Okay,
for
I'm
me to do.
interested.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like if
interested.
you want to play Hanseatic Trader Nation, you can do that, just focusing on trade. Or if you want to relive the Ottoman Empire's expansion as a militaristic country, you can do that. Or if you just want to sit and play as your small country somewhere and just get through history, you can do that.
So the world itself is something that's alive.
Yeah, I think that's the best description of the game. We're trying to feel like a game where it shouldn't feel like a game. It should feel like you actually are the country and playing that country through history and guiding it.
Okay, that's an interesting point because in EU4, you don't really feel like you are the country a lot of the time. It's like you just snowball your military and just paint the map, right? You don't really do much more than that. Like extra, like I guess you call it like RP sort of stuff. Of actually running the country, that could be fun. That could be fun. I'm interested. I'm interested.
And
You
how
have my
important would
attention.
you say the community has been to the development in this game?
I don't think there's word that can describe how important they are, because part of my team is built from the community.
Oh, that's
we
cool.
have been talking for over a year in various ways, like asking for feedback about the game. Because if there's one thing these 30 years have taught me, is that the community is vital for making a good game. You can't just sit on your own and code something.
That is true. That is
Well,
true.
Dion, I think I'm ready. Tell me everything there is to know.
How much time do you have?
It's 5,000
About
hours
30
in
minutes.
EU4, I can spend a little more.
Yeah, well, I brought a bunch of developers that are more knowledgeable about the details of the game than I am, and they're in the castle up here ahead.
Well, let's go find them.
Yes, let's do.
Now, it doesn't look like a castle. However. Okay. I do know Paradox is Swedish. The guy, I think he might sound a little Swedish. It might be in Sweden, this. This might be a Swedish castle. No, I can't recognize anything on the coat of arms. It's probably Sweden, right? It's gotta be, right? It's gotta
Welcome
be.
to School Cluster.
Where else would it be?
The servant here will take care of your sword for you.
Thank you. So what happens now? Where should I go?
Well, my journey here is over, but in this castle there's a lot of developers that will give you all the information you need. But you need to take this to Eric. He will know what to do with it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
That's gonna be the
Thank you so
map,
much,
isn't it?
and good luck on your journey.
I mean, okay, it's obviously a map. What else would it be on a scroll like that, all rolled up? Went the wrong way, dude.
Before this castle was built in 1654, this was just a remote slice of land, a blank canvas. The man who built this castle had been in dozens of them before, but he thought to himself, I can build one even better. You've loved and you've lived Europa Universalis, but parrots have thought to themselves, we can build one even bigger and even better. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey to discover how they've done just that with Europa Universalis 5.
Needs a new coat of paint in a few places. Just say. Just say.
The first historical relic on our journey is Dave. Hi, Dave.
Oh,
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave. Welcome to the workshop.
It's a great workshop.
Bit
So this room
sparse.
feels like a pretty good metaphor for the start of game development. How do you even begin with a project as ambitious as Europa Universalis 5?
Well, we started 5 years ago by building a new studio in Spain, specifically to make the project.
Oh shit, in Spain? Interesting. Okay. I assume they have different studios for Crusader Kings, Hearts of Iron, Stellaris, like all those sorts of games, right? I don't know where they are. I know Paradox, the publisher, is in Sweden. Are they all spread around as well? Are they all in Sweden? I don't. Okay, is Spain going to be the overpowered country in this game? It used to be Sweden, right? It used to be Sweden in EU4. There's an achievement. Sweden is not overpowered. Sweden's a little overpowered. Particularly if they can survive into the late game and not just get gobbled up by Denmark or, Russia.
So we hired modders, we hired
Hold on, it's not in HD. It's not in HD. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. There we go. There we
super
go.
fans. We hired the best developers from around the world.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, you said hired from the community, so modders and fans. Oh, that's actually really good, right? Because you get a lot of feedback from the player, like what sort of mechanics are going to work and what aren't going to work while you're in development. Very good choice there, so very good choice there.
Specifically to make this project.
So once you've assembled this great team, where do you go from that? What's your first starting point?
It starts with a vision, and that vision came from Johan, and it was, I want to make the grandest strategy game. That includes everything from having, from being the most immersive game we could possibly make, having a living world where everything feels like it's impacting something else.
So you've taken all the buzzwords,
that
gone
sounds nice.
historically accurate, dynamism, you want immersion. How do you take those ideas and put them into a game?
That's a tricky question. Well, one of the things you start with is making concept art, so we can decide how everything looks and feels.
What's the first mechanic that comes to mind? What do you start with?
Pops, which are population groups, groups of people. So,
Okay.
for example,
So taking
people
from
of the same
Stellaris a little.
culture and religion band together into a single unit, and they can be anything from just one person to a million people. One of these units.
So a single person to multiple millions and millions. So we're simulating hundreds of millions at the start of the game.
We're simulating every person who was alive in 1337.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
Okay, 1337. So it's what, 107 years extra time? So it used to start in 1444. Extra time. Every single person, so it's the entire population of Earth in 1337. Okay, that's... Now, this was the thing with the Stellaris, particularly when you enter the later game, it becomes sort of an issue because there's too many people. I know they have changed that with the latest version, the latest expansion. And they've changed how populations work, how... But you know, they just completely changed how the population works. It used to be there was like one pop per job. So I don't, like I said, I don't actually know. I haven't played the new Stellaris update yet. I need to. Maybe we could do that after we've done Age of Empires. You know, we can catch up on Stellaris. I haven't played in a very long time actually. I'm quite a few expansions behind. Yeah, so that's and then when you get into the later game, or you used to get into the later game. This is why they have changed it. The game used to lag a lot because there were so many population, right? There were so many people that they were modeling. I guess maybe... Okay, now we'll have to see how it works. I know Victoria... I didn't play Victoria 3, but I know Victoria 3 had a different sort of setup to population. They could maybe go more that way than Stellaris.
So
Let's
the
find
population
out.
system is tied into everything that you do. How do I get more of them?
With food production, so the more food you produce, the more surplus you have, which increases your population growth. And then, of course, the reverse is true. If they're starving, you're going to lose a lot of pops.
So we're modeling individuals being born.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, this is from what I know. Like I said, I didn't play Victoria 3. That time period is not really my my sort of thing. I think we're actually in Japan, actually. Interestingly, yeah, this is Japan. This is Shikoku, I think. Tokyo is right here. Actually, it'd be Edo in this period. Actually, no, it wouldn't actually exist at this point. Yeah, Tokyo is here. Kyoto is about here. So is Osaka. And then Kyushu is just off the map here, and Hokkaido's up here in the top corner. But okay, so this is the population of Poland. Interestingly, the show in Japan at the time. So this is 1420, so 1336 to 1428. Okay. So you can see there's a big drop. Is that the Black Death? That might be the Black Death. Okay, the Black Death might destroy Europe, which is historically what happened. It is what allowed the Ottomans to, cross the Bosphorus into Thrace, and then conquer, through the Balkans and all that. So that could be interesting. Yes, the modeling that as well. And then, yeah, we've got a slow recovery. And then, presumably, these dips are going to be wars. right? You know, so you have like a war here, and then you get a bit here because you gain territory, perhaps, and then maybe more bit territory, another war, more populate, more gains, more gains, more gains. Potentially, right? Because it wouldn't step like that under like normal circumstances, would it? Unless you know you're talking about like, a bunch of people dying, and then like a death wave, and then you won't get the boost here. Maybe that is a war. No, okay. I don't know what I'm talking about. Top 5 locations. Populations. Presumably this is population. Presumably this is population gain, and then population loss. Per tick, perhaps. Like per day. And then we have different cultures. Okay, so we have Lesser Polish, Greater Polish, Mazovian, Kashubian. Never heard that one. And then Pruthenian. Different religions. Catholicism. Okay. And then, okay, here we go. The breakdown of actual population in terms of like jobs and things, right? So we have peasants. That's mostly going to be farmers. Laborers will be like the merchant classes. Soldiers, obviously. Actually, okay, well, burghers, the merchant class. Laborers are going to be like builders and things. Soldiers, merchants, priests. 11,500 priests. Really? Really? 27,000 soldiers. Okay. Okay. Interesting. And this is nearly 100 years into the game as well. Only 27k soldiers. That's yeah, 1.5% of the total population. So this would be your manpower reserve that you would have in. Actually, no, there might be. Yeah, if it's total population, there'd be manpower reserve and active soldiers, wouldn't it? Ooh, so the armies could be a lot smaller now. Which, okay, makes sense for Europe this time. Like, an army would only be like maybe like a few thousand at most. Interesting. Then, okay, but then how do you do the other countries? Like, the Ottomans had like tens of thousands. Eventually, right? When they got to like the height. Like, when they start in like 1444, they'd have, you know, like tens of thousands. And they actually call on a lot more as well, because they were losing a lot to like to Skanderbeg. And they were fighting the Varna Crusade as well. Okay, so how do you manage that? I guess maybe if Europe have better soldiers initially, like higher quality, higher trained soldiers, or maybe rely more on mercenaries. Ooh, that could be interesting. 'Cause that was a thing at the time. Like, professional soldiers in the medieval period weren't actually soldiers. They were knights. But you don't have 27,000 knights. There you right? You know, so yes, you mostly rely on mercenaries. Like what was it, the Black Army of Hungary? Or the Hungarian Black, I don't know what the phrasing was. Yeah, but this, oh, what's his name? The guy that's in charge of, John Hunyadi, that's it. Yeah, the guy that's in charge of Hungary at the start of EU4. He did a whole thing where he had a whole, like, mercenary army. And they were really good. Same with the Genoese crossbowmen as well. If you played Europa Universalis, not Europa, Medieval 2 Total War.
Working, dying. I'm assuming they're also going to stratify throughout society. What does that look like?
Oh, actually, hold on. There's actually more here. There's more. It goes further. Peasants, laborers, soldiers, burghers, clerics, and then there's presumably one extra below that. Yeah, there's more population there, different culture groups, which makes sense, yeah, because that's Pruthenia. And then you got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 more cultures in there. Looks like there's a few more religion, although it's actually very small. You can barely even tell that. There's obviously ones. Yeah, so maybe nobility. You have like regular soldiers and then nobility. Kind of like Crusader Kings 3, where you have your knights being separate guys.
Working, dying. I'm assuming they're also going to stratify throughout society. What does that look like?
Yeah, so each pop has a type, a sort of social class, which
Uh-huh.
could be, of course, nobility, burghers.
Hey, I called it. I called it. I called it. Yes, that seems like very similar to Victoria 3. Like, in the way they had that set up. Like I said, I haven't played it. I do know a bit about it. That's it's very similar to that one.
Peasants. They all have different jobs, depending on which class they're in, and they also belong to different estates in your government.
So what's an estate? What do they do?
Oh,
An
the estate's the
estate
back.
is a group of pops who have a political agenda. Now, most countries.
Okay, so again, we're doing Poland. So you have the crown. No idea how to pronounce it. I'm presuming this is nobility. Right, yes, landed, like castle. It's just gonna be like landed elite. Then these are presumed like the things they want to do, or maybe bonuses you get. Peasants are very unsatisfied, of course they are. Bloody peasants.
Countries have the nobility, burghers, clergy, and peasants. And basically, they
It's
all
very
have
similar
their
to EU4.
own privileges that you give them and can take away from them. You can also sort them by social class. So, for example, clergymen are in a different group from nobility.
And that would be the estate system.
It ties into the estate system, yes.
How does the estate system work?
So your pops organize into estates which have their own agenda. They have their own ideas of how they want to run the country.
What if
Uh-huh.
the
So you can have a peasant revolt, overthrow the monarchy, and have communism.
nobility decide they want something different to me? Can they just go off and do it?
It depends. If you give them the right privileges, you might give them the ability to build their own fortifications or allow your peasants to arm themselves.
So regardless of if I want it, if I've given them that privilege, they're going to go and do it. And I'm assuming
Yes.
that if their agendas and my agenda line up, that's going to benefit me quite nicely.
But they don't always line up. That's the that's the rub.
That sounds actually interesting. Yeah, like I was saying before, the way in EU4, the way the game really works is all about just your army and just going and conquering people. Having more to do with the actual running of your country makes it less about just painting the map with your color, which is a nice change, right? Because usually what I find when I play EU4, when I have a little setback, well, I have a few setbacks. I tend to not continue. Start over. Start a new game. Let's not deal with the huge catastrophe of losing a single battle.
What is a privilege? You mentioned nobility building forts. What does that look like in terms of other privileges, like with the clergy?
So you could, for example, give your burghers control over the coinage. It's all about give and take. You almost never want to give them a privilege, but sometimes it becomes necessary.
So give me a context in which it's necessary. Why would I give out a privilege?
Maybe you want to pass something through Parliament.
Okay. So what's this? Control of monetary policy, get to the burghers. Okay. Gives them less tax. Oh, innovation. Okay, innovation's back. Control of the coinage, gold output, silver output, mining rate. So yeah, there's some good bonuses. However, if you give too many away, that then negatively impacts. It gives them too much power. So that similar sort of thing did happen in EU4. So I never really played too much with the actual estates, because there were too many negatives, I felt like. There wasn't enough reason to really mess with it. So yeah, I never really got into it. But this one could be, you gotta keep the satisfaction up, otherwise okay, same thing did happen in EU4, right? If your satisfaction, no, your was it loyalty? It's loyalty, isn't it? It's loyalty. The loyalty dropped too much, they would, try to break away. But you got to keep them happy, get some bonuses. Okay, so what's this? Yes, this is extra satisfaction, and then plus 50 lightning. Maybe gives more population. More people actually in control of that instability. I don't know.
And the nobility
sure-
say, we'll
I'm
only
sure they'll
let
explain.
that if you give us this privilege.
If the inverse happens and their agenda doesn't align with me, I need to either bring them under control or pacify them.
Yes, if you're feeling confident, you can remove privileges from an estate, but you need to be sure that you're in a good position to do that.
So it's a constant balance. I need to make sure that they're happy, but not too powerful that they can take me out.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic.
Yes,
So
it
if I
definitely feels
manage
like
to
they've
do
expanded on
everything
the
correctly,
estates from E4.
what does that look like?
I talked over you there.
So if I manage to do everything correctly, what does that look like?
If you have a happy populace, happy estates, you have a prosperous nation, and that will allow you to go from this to this.
Well, I've done quite well for myself.
Well done.
Ah,
Thank you very much. So EU5 stretches from 1337 to 1837. That's 500 years of history. A lot
Yeah,
happens in that time period. Talk me through how the game changes to reflect the changes in history.
So we've
So it is more than 107 years extra that they're adding. So like another 16 years on the end of that. So that's what 123 years extra time. That's a lot, actually. That's like a quarter of the game.
divided the era into 6 different ages, and inside those ages we have different institutions, so that every slice of 100 years or so feels different from the previous one or the next one. Is much more about
Okay.
medieval fiefdoms and this sort of old order. But by the end of the game, you have the Industrial Revolution.
I'm being distracted here. Are those real candles? The flame doesn't look right. The flames don't look right. I'm going insane. What do you mean going, Spade? What do you mean going?
Prices of coal go up. People are using more modern technology.
Let's talk technologies. These more modern technologies you're speaking about. How does the technology system in the game work?
So once you've embraced an institution, that unlocks a brand new technology tree.
Okay.
And players can
Okay. Okay. This is very different to U4 then. Right, because technology you just went up one at a time, like each tier. So over time it roughly coincides all about the same time. But this one, you get technology. Which means, yeah, you could go different ways. You could focus more in economy, whereas someone else might go more military. It's okay, it's like balancing sort of thing. We have New World and Age of Discovery. Preparation time modifier, diplo range, colony range, plus 500. Wow. As Florentine navigator Amerigo Vespucci says, the land discovered by Columbus are not the Indies, but in fact a whole new world unknown to our ancients, waiting to be mapped and claimed. Okay. What else can I see here? Not a lot. Not a lot. So you have like different ways you can go. So then, instead of just getting like a number of bonuses when you go to like level 18 sort of thing, we had to pick them. And we go different ways. Okay. Balance could be difficult. Like, I'm thinking, like, balance for a late game. Well, not necessarily late game, but evaluating strengths of enemy armies could be interesting, right? Because someone may have, if you're playing like multiplayer, right? Someone may go very hard into military, into military text, and just focus beeline all of those. And if you're, much more economy focused, you're not going to have as strong an army. But if you have the similar number of troops, like EU4, it's a lot easier to say, okay, they have 30,000 troops, I have 30,000 troops, they attack me in the mountains, I'm going to win, right? Assuming the same general. Or generals. Right? But this could focus a lot more into military. I mean, okay, hold on. There's nothing that I can see that looks like straight military. Maybe that's under something else. Okay, that could be something. Okay, maybe looking assuming too much. But I actually like this. I like this a lot. It's a bit more like Civ, I guess you would say, right? Because you have the tech tree, and then you have like the different ages. So you have like the ancient, classical, medieval. Is it Renaissance? Do you have Renaissance? Yeah, okay, you get the idea, right? You get the idea. And then you have certain texts within those. But yeah, this one, I feel like texts are going to be a lot faster. Do we have mana? I don't think so. Actually, I think they've got rid of mana. So we have money. We have, presumably, stability. Population gain. Prestige? No, that would be prestige. What would be this one then? Authority? No, it's not authority. What's... Oh, fuck, what? I haven't played in a while. I forgot. I've forgotten. Yes, you have stability. Legitimacy. That's it, legitimacy. Yeah, and then prestige. And then... revolution, perhaps? Diplomatic reputation, maybe? I have no idea what these are going to be. Yeah, it looks like they've got rid of mana. Unless maybe it's one of these. It could be one of those. It could be one of those. Yeah, okay, there's a lot going on this. And then you have all of these tabs as well. There's a lot. There's a lot. Monthly research progress 1.4. Okay, so yeah, this is wait, hold on. Renaissance Milan. Is that who discovers the Renaissance? And then banking Venice? That would presumably be... No, professional army Visma? Ah. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Choose to go down that list and unlock specific things from that tree.
So you mentioned institutions. What exactly are they?
So an institution is an idea that spreads. For example, it could be
yeah, I don't like the institutions.
Quest for the New World
in EU4,
which changes the way that you can explore.
They're very limiting. They don't spread fast enough. To me, anyway. Everyone else gets it
So
long before I do.
exploration was a big thing during this era. I'm assuming that's also modeled in the game.
Yes.
How does that work?
So once you reach the age of discovery, you might want to start looking over the oceans and to decide to colonize distant lands.
So colonization then, how does that work?
So any country can colonize, and it's a lot easier if you have Quest for the New World institution embraced. But colonization essentially allows you to take unclaimed territory and absorb it into your empire.
So any country can colonize. I don't have to be a specific nation to colonize.
Exactly.
How
Yeah, so
different...
instead of the idea groups in EU4, instead of getting rid of that, and it's just all under the tech tree. Okay.
Gameplay vary from place to place? The games vary quite a lot depending on which country you choose. You're impacted so much by your setup, what pops you have, what terrain you have, and what neighbors you have, that every playthrough is going to be different if you're playing with France against Flanders.
But I'm not locked in, am I? I can take the starting position of France and go wherever I want with it. I could colonize, I could fight, I could focus on the economy, I could focus on trade.
Exactly. It's not railroaded. You can choose which path you want. So you can take France as a big trading nation, or you could just conquer your neighbors.
Interesting.
So the big takeaway is that it is a living world.
Exactly.
But in order to achieve what we've been talking about, to do any of the...
Yeah, my only concern with that whole living world thing is going to be like the late game performance. Hopefully, with them adjusting Stellaris, particularly on that thing, hopefully they've talks about this quite a lot.
Scenarios we've gone through, I have to take care of my population, right?
Exactly. Your population influences every decision you take. Your population is your economy, and your economy is your population. So you have to look after them if you want to lead your country to wealth.
Well, here's to wealth.
To wealth.
I don't think that's real food.
Every game needs a solid
thought that was a
framework,
toilet.
and
I
U5
thought it was in
will
the
have
toilet.
just that. The population mechanic will be at the heart of everything that you do, and if you manage it carefully, you will be rewarded with a prosperous realm. Hundreds of millions of people are going to be simulated in a fully dynamic, living world. But what does that actually mean? Let's go to the library to find out.
It is a very nice castle. Like I said, could use a little bit of a coat of paint here and there.
Roger!
This is a library.
That's going to complicate the interview.
Fair enough.
Can you tell me about the
I
living
like
world?
that. Okay, that was funny.
Living world means that things don't come out of nothing. It's the population that live in the locations which produce the goods by working on the resource gathering operations, or RGO for short. And then those goods are used in other buildings.
Okay, I'm getting distracted again. What is that map? What is that map of? My first thought was Europe, but it doesn't look like Europe. And then my second thought was India. Right, so like this bit would be India here, and then you have like Southeast Asia, but it doesn't look similar either. And my next thought is maybe like the Baltics, like Poland, Lithuania. No, I don't know. I don't know.
What are those? How do I build them? How do I use them?
Buildings are in locations, and there are many types of buildings that all of them do different things. But in general, they will take resources to maintain and to build, and some of them will produce other types of goods.
Okay,
And they
so
will
that's
employ the
interesting.
population to do that.
What would I do with those goods?
All the goods produced,
It's
those
taking
raw
a lot of
resources and
from
refined
Victoria.
goods go into the market, and from there they are used to supply the needs of the population and the needs of the buildings.
So, what is a market?
Right, so if you had like a lot of trees, a lot of lumber production, right? You could turn that into buildings, and they would then build, like furniture that you could then sell, presumably. Right, I think that's how it worked in Victoria. Actually, I didn't play Victoria 3. I probably should have done this. This might have helped me understand what this is going to be like. Mistakes have been made. Mistakes have been made.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's a difficult concept. Imagine you're playing as England, for example. You have
Hey,
a market
England, imagine-
center in London.
Okay. Yeah, I think this. Okay, this is gonna be very complicated. This is gonna be very complicated. I can see this getting very complicated. Quite quickly. So yeah, no idea what most of these are gonna be. Maybe coal, that one. Dyes, that one's an easy one. Paper, perhaps. Money. No idea. No idea. Yeah, let's go back and listen to what he actually says.
Imagine you're playing as England, for example. You have a market center in London, and that would attract the locations around it to the London market.
Right.
Locations will be pooled towards one market or another, depending on the conditions, and all the locations belonging to a market will get the resources from that market.
Okay, so it feels like the centers of trade have gone. Like the whole like trade, like pushing trade down like trade routes. That's now being replaced by the market, and then all of the states within that central trade, so what would have been the central trade, now send their resources to the market, and then presumably you can trade from there with other centers of trade.
So if another market has something that I don't have, I can trade for it.
Yes, exactly. If you need some good in your market that you don't have access to, you will
Ah,
have to make a
I'm a
trade
smart
deal
man.
between any two markets that you have access to.
Let's say a location is in the market of Scandinavia, let's call it. Is that permanent or can they shift?
Now, markets are completely dynamic.
Oh shit, okay.
Every location will belong to a market or another market depending on different factors. And markets
can change
themselves
sphere of
can be
influence on the
created
markets.
and destroyed completely freely. Well, freely. They have a cost.
So I, as a player, can both create and destroy markets
Yes,
under
you
my
can-
control.
Yes, you can create your own market if you are, for example, if you are playing in Sweden and you don't have a market because you're trading in the market of Lübeck, for example, and you see it more beneficial for you to have a market in Stockholm, you can create a market in Stockholm.
So
Okay, that's cool.
in
I
this
like that a
Stockholm
lot.
market, let's say I wanted something like legumes. How could I get it if it wasn't already in my market?
Okay, let's go on employment. RGO level. Oh, resource gathering operations. Okay, resource gathering operation levels. That's level 2 of 12. Okay, interesting. Total of 2.3 is sold for every month for half a ducat. 92.49%. Well, presumably that's the value of it. So 100% will be, it's worth, so it's actually, you're selling it less for what it's actually worth, presumably, from that. Okay. Legumes in the Khan Balig market. Stable laborers, 0. Lumber, okay. Right, construction, that's presumably going to put the level up. Peaceful building time, 162 days, 17 gold. Okay, so things are a lot cheaper. Okay, that's a lot cheaper. In EU4, that would be like 100 gold. But that's, okay, it makes sense, right? You're going to be having to develop a lot more. Instead of just building like a market building, like plus 50% resources in a single province. Okay, okay, okay.
If you want some good that's not in your market, then you'll have to make a trade deal. A country can make a trade deal between any two markets that they have access to, and that
Okay.
would move the goods from the stockpile of that market to the market you're moving.
So if I'm Sweden, I can have Danish provinces in my location.
Yes, the goods produced in the Danish locations will be used in your market.
So if I'm buying goods and selling goods,
Okay.
what determines
that.
the price of those goods?
Trade deals have a cost based on the distance between the markets and also depending on the price of the specific good. Each good have a base price, and also it will be modified depending on basically supply and demand between the different markets they are being traded.
Okay, interesting.
So if a good is very abundant in a market,
again,
it will be
late game performance is
and if
concerned.
it's not that abundant or basically scarce, it will be expensive.
How do I get the money to then buy goods at a loss?
Countries can gain income from a variety of sources, but the main one is basically taxing your population.
Taxes,
However,
baby!
you won't be able to completely tax all your population because it will depend on the control you have on the locations.
So what's control?
Okay.
Control is
So you assume have 100% in your capital. And then, say, be like the loyalty of like your barons sort of thing?
an indicative, or basically the amount of power that your country has in a location, and it will irradiate
your army
from your
is,
capital.
perhaps?
You have your cabinet to increase control if you want.
How can I gather more taxes from like a location?
But the main tool that the countries have at their disposal is the cabinet.
That gives me an idea.
Okay, so main one is the cabinet, but I presume there's going to be other options. Well, it's to say the main one, right? I guess there's presuming there'll be other options you can raise, like control. in certain processes. Like CK3 has a similar sort of thing, right? You have control. When that goes down for whatever reason, like you just conquer a province, it starts low, and then it goes up over time. And you can increase that with your council, your military counselor. So presumably, there's going to be bonuses from technologies as well. They can give maybe a bit more control, privileges perhaps, maybe privileges take away.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay.
So Roger has just told us about the living world, dynamic markets, and how to build a prosperous nation. But all I heard was newly conquered territories. Let's head to the armory.
Damn, those are some nice suits. Those are some nice weapons. Love them. Ah, little cat. Ah. Gentlemen.
Oh, Eric!
Welcome to the armory.
Thank you. I've been given this map. I think it's finally time we show them.
Let's do that.
This is a map of 1337, but how accurate is it?
Well, Leith, I would say this is the most accurate and granular map we ever made for a grand strategy game.
So you're going to need to take me through this beautiful map here. How important is historical accuracy to something like this?
I'm glad you asked, because basically the map we're starting in 1337, I would say we made a huge effort in making it as accurate and granular as possible, which that
Okay, so first thing I see, the superpowers of the time are going to be absolutely the Mongols, right? So you have the Golden Horde, it looks like maybe the Ilkhanate in here, and then this would be the Great One, right? And then this is presumably the Delhi Empire. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like actually, no Ottoman. Well, okay, Ottomans, yeah, Ottomans going to be the big rising power. I think this actually here, this little green one, I think that's maybe the Ottomans. They're going to be the rising power throughout like the first like 100 years. Be very easy to take them out. So yeah, without like a big like opposition in Europe, like Europe could go very expensive, right? So yeah, if you play as Austria, get Bohemia and Hungary under you at the beginning, or as close to the beginning as you can. Right, you're just going to dominate. And like I said, like without the Ottomans to really counterbalance you, it's going to be, yeah, you're just going to make stress. Okay, interesting.
That obviously has its challenges. For example, in the warfare end of things, since now the diversity geographically wise is huge, so a lot of things can impact the outcome of a war. So basically what we are talking here is that, for example, let's say if you had a military campaign in something around the Caucasus area over here with Armenia and the potential rise of Ottomans and this part of the world, what you would encounter is that it's a very steep place with sort of very thin areas to go through, and that obviously you might feel it like it's an opportunity, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a trap. It's a huge trap. By that, which I mean is that things like, let's say, rivers, mountains, straits, those definitely can define the outcome of a battle and potentially the outcome of a war. So you have to be very careful with how you treat your movement of troops in the map.
So before we even get to war, what
Train's
kind of
a bit more
preparations
of
do I need to
an
make
issue now.
to supply my armies?
I would say, first of all, that going into a war is not easy at all. And yeah, you can be challenged in case they declare to you if you are not prepared. In case you are the one that wants to be the aggressor, I would say that the first thing to consider is building a war chest. That would be for starters. But also you have to be very careful with the production game loop of things. Because at starting date, basically you rely a lot into raising levies. And those levies come from population. And the thing is that this population is the one that's responsible for the outcome of your buildings. So what I'm saying here is that when you start a campaign in 1337 and you raise all your levies, you're making your buildings empty, part of them.
See. So you're telling me that if I raise all of my levies, get into a bad battle, and my army gets wiped out, I'm also wiping out all of my populations at home, so there's no one to work in the fields and all the buildings.
That did happen.
That is correct.
That did happen.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about military objectives, what are some of those military objectives? Can I tell an army to go siege? Can I tell an army to go engage other armies? How does that work?
Definitely. Like for starters, there would be one of the most used, I assume, is going to be the carpet siege, which basically is the one that allows you to make a lot of your armies go straight towards
So you can
the
just give them
forts
a
of your
big
enemy.
order, and
So
they'll
you
do
don't
that. So they don't
need
have to control each
be
individual one.
micromanaging on that regard. And that obviously has its pros and its cons. Like, let's say you are too lightly on these tools and you use them a bit too much, maybe you are not defending your own country, because there is a military objective to defend your own lands or to call everyone back to defend. But if you are just using the tools in an aggressive way, it's probably gonna screw you up when it comes to the enemy.
So let's say, hypothetically, I am an Englishman.
Yes.
And I want to press my rightful claim on the throne of France. Can I use my superior
Damn right we
navy and
do.
sailing
Damn right
ability?
we do.
Definitely, definitely, 100%. Like navies in EU5 are meant to be, first of all, for movement of troops. That is a huge thing that helps the troops to move around, but also it supplies nearby armies. So that would be something to take into account. I would also add to this that if
that's
you,
interesting.
as an Englishman, start, let's say you go with another one, and you go here, and you start going deep into French territory, thanks to your navies, basically, what you would get is that a lot of the locations in France, when you occupy them, you can basically get their food.
So I can live off the land in France?
Yes.
Ideally.
That's the...
We're gonna raid France,
and
boys.
also, like, it goes
But it's
both
the
ways,
ground.
because you get the food of the enemy, and that means the enemy doesn't get that food. So that is pretty good for your outcome.
So you mentioned that wars are won and
Interesting.
lost according to your economy if you're out too long. How do I win a battle?
Winning a battle can be decided by a lot of factors. First of all, as the most usual one, if you have the biggest army, you probably will win. But
big
the
army.
thing is that this game doesn't assure you that.
So the different factors are size of the army,
Yes.
professionalism of the army,
Yes.
the general, the terrain,
Yes.
and beyond.
Yeah, I would say
But
supplying
that's
your
like a lot of the stuff from EU4 already, right? Obviously size, discipline is like the main one, like discipline and morale. Those are like the main ones. That really determine the outcome of battles. Terrain used to be a lot more important, but unless it's mountains, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. Assuming you're fighting, an even equal strength sort of army. Yeah, so it feels like this really isn't for like people who are this is more for people that are very new to the game. These explanations.
with food. If an army has low morale due to low food supply, then it's another factor to consider. An
So if
army
they're starving to
Ooh.
death,
So morale is not constant. Morale actually changes depending on certain factors. Oh, so if there's weather, I think there is weather. I seen one of the pictures on Steam. There's a typhoon near Japan. I think there might be weather that could like heavy rain affect morale.
they can't fight.
basically
Have no
that.
food.
So
Like
what are the
morale?
potential ramifications of starvation then?
That your entire army could die of starvation, which would be a very bad outcome, I would say so.
Okay, so
and
attrition
that
is a lot
means
stronger.
probably that the enemy will be super happy about it. So, but yeah, in order to supply your army, you would have to consider, first of all, supply depots. That's something you have to get from locations in order to, especially if your campaign is long and you are very deep into the enemy land. And there's some countries here that I would say are huge in terms of territory. Let's say you start as Morocco and you want to invade Castile. So the more you get into the specific territory, the
So
more
these
you
are all
might be punished
forts?
unless you prepare fine with it.
So
But-
if I'm Tunisian
Yes.
and I want to invade Castile,
Yes.
The deeper I go, the more I need to consider supply because I could be cut off.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But not only
Okay, but what if you just in EU4, right? You go for the castles, like the forts, right? Once you have that and you defeat the enemy army, you can just like carpet siege. But if you're just gonna carpet siege from the beginning, why would you need to worry about supply?
that, because if you don't make
Interesting.
sure that your own country is safe in terms of occupations, then you could face another problem, which is that your enemy cuts down your supply. And that would mean that at the end, you wouldn't get that much needed food.
Let's say I have a weaker economy than my opponent. They're going to win. Am I able to secure quick tactical victories in order to beat my opponent? How can I take their resources away from them?
Okay, this is an interesting one because in EU4, if you're against a much larger enemy, right? Say you're someone in the HRE fighting against France, right? France decided to go for you. Austria's, elsewhere doing whatever, not interested. They don't join the war defensively. Could you maybe you're fighting like a two-front war, like you don't want to get taken out early? Get a quick peace, because this is something in EU4 is it takes a very long time to actually get a peace deal. That's gets you out of certain wars that you don't want to be in. See what they say. Let's see what they say.
Them.
Well, that's a very good question because there's a lot of opportunities. For once, the map
Sounds like it,
we
sounds
have
like
in this
it.
game allows you to browse very carefully which enemy locations might be producing from the land the goods that are meant to supply their units. So I guess a smart choice, let's, for example, choose the Golden Horde. So Golden Horde relies heavily on horses, as we all know. So if you detect the places that have horses in it and you are quick enough to occupy those, you're basically decreasing their chances to fill up their ranks.
I don't
once
feel like it
they
would have that
some
much of an
losses,
impact
and
that
that would
quickly.
benefit you a lot. That also would include other types of factors, like, let's say, if you are occupying a location that is meant to be a huge food supply for your enemy, then you are doing a very good strategy because you are cutting them down as well. Actually, the magic of this
So you could do like for the Romans, like for the Romans, Egypt, Tunisia, and I think Sicily were like the main suppliers of food for Rome, or for the Roman Empire. So if you could, theoretically, if you would go for that, say you're fighting against Aragon and they have Naples, Naples and Sicily, you could get in quickly by sea, take Sicily, so take out a lot of their food early, and then force them to negotiate, perhaps.
That it allows you to, if that country is facing other wars, or if that country is just having an internal problem with the managing of their supplies, then you have an opportunity there. So yeah, I would say that if you are using a small country, you're playing a small country, you might have a chance to succeed.
So it's less about the size of the dog in the fight and more about how much food is in his food bowl.
Yeah, that I would say that. Yes.
Nice.
That's a good one.
There's many ways to punish your enemy. Another good option, obviously, but that even comes from EU4 times, although in this case I would say it's harder, would be to occupy the capital. When you occupy the capital of the enemy, basically you are
the victor.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for all that fantastic information, but I have just one more question for you. How many princes are there in the HRE? Eric?
All of them. All of them. So that was actually a thing on Twitter. They put up a map of the HRE and people started going, hold on, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. They had to change a bunch of them.
So Eric left before I could get all the answers that I wanted, but fortunately I know somewhere else that I can seek guidance.
Wait, that is his actual hair. It's not a wig. Okay. I'm impressed.
Forgive me, random church bench dev, for I have sinned. I have a question about faiths.
About your faith.
Those
No,
are
about
fates.
faiths in the game.
Oh, well, that I can help you with. We do have around 300 faiths in the game. There's, for example, Catholicism, there's Buddhism,
300.
there's Zoroastrianism, there's Shintoism, and plenty of faiths.
And do they have their own unique mechanics?
Yes, everyone has own unique set of mechanics that they can interact and play with.
Okay, that's a lot.
And I'm assuming all these different pops have
Okay, I assume it's going to be similar to maybe Crusader Kings 3, right? Because there's no way they have unique mechanics for all 300. It'd be like certain groups will have similar mechanics, and then each like major group, so like Christianity, Islam, Confucianism, all those sort of things, like Tingrism, all the good ones. And then maybe like the subgroups, certain subgroups like Protestant Reformation, that sort of thing. They'll have their own separate mechanics, similar to EU4.
varieties of different faiths.
Yes, each pop will belong to a specific faith. And in your country, there could be pops of many diverse faiths that you will have to interact with, and they could be perfectly happy, but they could also be unhappy when their different faith could become a problem for you.
So if
So
there's
we're
a
getting
pop that has
uprising
the same
still.
faith as me, they're perfectly happy.
Not necessarily. They can be perfectly unhappy while sharing your own faith.
Great.
You will have
Typical.
a lot of minorities, both of culture and of faith in your country at all times, mostly. And what you can do about them is, well, you can convert and assimilate them, or you could tolerate and accept those cultures and those faiths.
You mentioned that I can tolerate them. Does that mean that I can have a fully tolerant society, tolerating all minorities?
Yes, if you're particularly humanist, that's definitely a goal to strive towards.
So you're saying, what does that mean? How does one become humanist?
Well, humanism is a societal value in the game, which is opposed to spiritualism.
Okay. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. So these are instead of the culture groups then. Not culture. Idea groups. Idea groups. Get the right one, Spady. It's have quality, quantity, and then you instead of just getting the ideas, you presumably get more of a bonus for going higher up the tree. Capital economy, what's that? Traditional economy. Individualism, communism. Okay, so yeah, these are interesting.
And spiritualist countries would have it, for example, easier to convert and assimilate. And it's one of dozens of societal values that we have in the game. For example,
Okay, the candles again.
you
I'm
could
getting distracted by the
be
candles
more
again.
innovative, or you could be more traditionalist, or you could
No, that's a real candle.
focus your army, for example, on quantity or on quality, but you can't do both.
Can you give me an example of a major situation that would impact my societal values?
Well, there is one which will come fairly early on in the game, which is the Black Death, which will happen
Yep.
around like 10, 15 years after the game starts and will affect a majority of the globe.
What can I do to lessen the
that's not
impact of the
good.
Black Death?
Well, you
Nothing.
can try
Nothing.
different things. You can try to build hospitals, you can maybe establish a quarantine, procure remedies, but, well, I hope you find solace in faith. Good luck.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. I mean, 10 to 15 years, that's not enough time to really do a whole lot.
Our tour today is at an end, but it's just the start of our grandest journey yet. We'll find out whether your reign will be known as a glorious golden age or for carnage and chaos. Will you carve your name into history or be a mere footnote in someone else's chapter? In Europa Universalis 5, anything is possible. History is yours to write. One final piece of advice. Be ambitious.
Yeah, don't play too passively. Which is what I do 100% of the time. Oh, there's a Vihand. There's Flamberge. Oh, that's a Flamberge. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so that was the announcement show. A bunch of information for Europa Universalis 5. I will absolutely be getting this when it comes out. Paradox. You know, it'd be really stupid. Sponsoring me. Never gonna happen. I can hope. I can dream. I can dream one day. But yeah, okay, yeah, that's really good. That's interesting. I like that a lot. There's a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of good hints. I except late game performance is always going to be an issue, right? Let me go there actually. Late game performance is always going to be an issue in this type of game, especially with a lot of the deeper focus on a lot of things. But it could be, you know, quite interesting. I like the deeper dive into the more of the technology sort of stuff, like the economy. Because like I said a couple of times, there isn't really that much of that in EU4, right? It's just mostly about building military, right? You build up your economy so you can get a bigger military, so you can conquer more and get more money to then go and conquer more, and you just paint your name across the map, right? Having other ways to play, right? 'Cause you could do like a Napoleonic era sort of thing, right? Where Britain was just spamming money to to fight France. But you could do that. So we didn't actually even get involved. Let me go back. Right, because we didn't really get involved in a lot of it. I say we, the British, right? It's mostly was just like paying, you know, Austria, Russia, Prussia to fight against France. So you could do that, right? You just have a major economy, in Britain, and then just, you know, pay people to fight France for you. Always a good idea. Always a good idea. And then, yeah, so like there's other ways to play. You don't have to go straight. I mean, we are 100%. We're 100% going military because that's the fun part. Let me see if I can find something. Yeah, the tech tree is quite interesting. I'm actually looking forward to that one, probably the most actually. Yeah, because the techs in EU4 very straightforward. It's a lot more ability to really get customized, and like unlike Civ, which does have a tech tree, you're probably not gonna be able to get every single one of these things, right? So it's just like one. You have to like specialize get the most of what you want out of it with the type of game you're playing, or things are gonna be like the most benefit. And then you move on to the next one. It's like what? It's 100 years. Yeah, the six of them, 500 years of the game. So you start in this one. Renaissance will start within like the first 50 years. So what, it's like 1337. No, that's about 100 years. And then a discovery, Reformation, absolutism, revolution. Right? You'll be progressing through these. Maybe not quickly, but not slowly enough to be able to get all of them, which is a thing that happens in Civ, right? By the time you get to the late game, everyone has everything. Everyone's on even playing field. Like this one, you can really like specialize, which sounds very interesting. Sounds very interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think said taking a lot from Victoria. I'll find it. It's around here, wasn't it? When they're talking about populations. No, no. Okay, no. Okay. So this game is this guy here. And this is the goods. Yes, this is changing centers of trade and the economy. That's gonna be interesting. Food is its own town. We're gonna need a lot of food. I need a lot of food. Plus 1,761. Interesting, interesting. And yeah, the buildings and things looked a lot cheaper as well. They have a much faster build time, which could be very beneficial. I mean, yeah, you have so much more stuff, you do need a lot more. Yeah, anyway. Anyway.